Welcome to Soul, Light, and Body. How are you guys doing today?
Excellent.
Super good.
Oh my goodness, Kelly, thank you so much for joining us for part two on Soul, Light, and Body because you know what? We still got some more stuff we really wanted to unpack and go a little bit more deeper into type 2 diabetes.
Sure.
And thank you for saying yes, because what a better person to explain and go deep into type 2 diabetes who've walked that journey and understand how very impactful nutrition is and changing your diet is super important for you to take that step and start that journey to a holistic lifestyle. And the beautiful thing is that we have a choice and we could make those lifestyle changes. If you turn up at your doctor's office and he says to you, you know what, you've got type 2 diabetes, it's time for you to pivot and check in with yourself and say to yourself, I can make these lifestyle changes because if Kelly can do it, I know anybody can do it. It takes the right mindset. It takes commitment for you to start this journey. And we know it's not an easy journey because there will be days that you're gonna feel really down, feel depressed about it. But you know what? As I said before, we have a choice, and the choice is ours. And we could get up and we can start to move once again and move in a direction to live a holistic lifestyle. As Kelly was on enrichment of mind, body, and soul on Sunday, and he was saying to us, is what we put in. It's what we put in that is very super important, and what we make the choice to eat, it all depends upon us. When you look on your plate, you have to know exactly what you have on your plate, if it's going to enrich you or if it's going to cause you harm. You have to make that choice. It's your choice. It's your choice. It's your body. And we've got to take care of this temple. It starts with us. So this evening, you are at the right place at the right time. If you know someone who can benefit from this topic, kindly share us out. Because you know what? You're helping someone. You are helping someone this evening. Or if you know a family member that probably lost someone to type 2 diabetes, it's time for them to educate themselves to really understand what is type 2 diabetes. Because many times when we turn up in the doctor's office, a lot of things is not being said to us. It's not getting to the root cause of what is really causing type 2 diabetes. But this evening here, Kelly is going to get to the root cause. He's going to help us to understand more in depth what is type 2 diabetes, what are some of the things we need to stay away from, what are some of the foods we need to focus on to continue to enrich our lives and to continue to live in a good health and healthy lifestyle. So this evening, I don't want to take up much time because we really want Kelly to give us some real good food tonight. It's all about giving us the real good food tonight. Right, Kelly? You're going to feed us well.
Very good.
You're going to feed us well tonight. You're going to unbottle that wellness for us.
Yes, ma'am. Let's do it.
Yes, so we just want to welcome you to Soul, Light, and Body. And don't forget to subscribe to Soul, Light, and Body, that you would never miss none of this informative discussion. Because these discussions is to help you, the audience. It's to help you to understand certain things about your life. If, for instance, many times people ask me and join a lot of questions, but when you join these podcasts, you get a lot of answers to your questions because we bring in the expert. We look for the expert and get the expert for you. And we bring them here that you can enrich you in this space. So don't forget, subscribe to Soul, Light, and Body. And if you know an individual who could really get some good messages in their life, just share this along to them and help them to enrich their lives as well. I am Karen Pascal, holistic health and wellness coach and a co-author of two books, Your Gut in You and Self-Care is Intentional, with my sister, Joan Williams, and my daughter, Tremaine. And these books also help you as an individual to go deep within yourself and really understand yourself in depth, because your gut and you tell you so much about your body. And it's simple, very simple terms that you can understand. It's nothing but these big technical words. It's very, very simple, your gut and you. And self-care is intentional. That's another good one as well that we wrote. It's to help you to understand it's not going to the spa alone. It's setting your boundaries. It's doing a lot of things for your personal self. But I'm not going to give certain things away because you got to get the book. You got to go buy the book from Amazon, right? So I'm going to hand the mic now over to Joan. Joan, take the mic. Kelley, welcome again, and thanks for saying yes.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Great openings always.
Thank you.
Kelley, welcome back as well. And you are always here to give us a level of clarity, give us new insights and great perspectives how we can move forward. Tonight, we are in March already. Spring is soon here. How are you moving forward with your goals? How are you moving forward with the things that you have in mind that you started when 2025 commenced? We're here. We're moving forward. Show yourself some love and compassion. Remind yourself that you are special and you are unique. And you're amazing. So don't be hard on yourself. Don't be hard on yourself. And we want to tell you tonight, we support all the bold moves that you're making towards your journey. Remember to nourish and nurture yourself. It's very important. Because in order for us to enjoy all the goals and everything we're aspiring for, it's essential that we nourish and nurture ourselves. And nourish here, we're going to eat the right kind of food, put the right kind of nutrients in our bodies. But what about the other aspect of our lives? Our spirituality. Whatever form of spiritual practice you perform, are you nurturing that area? Your physical activity, are you moving? Are you stopping and pause daily and have that quiet time turning inwards so you could support you? Are you leaning into your inner wisdom, that inner guidance, which is our compass that we can able to stay attuned to ourselves, help us to make great decisions, great choices? Are you practicing pockets of joy every day? Spark some joy in your life. Are you embracing your creativity? And are you decluttering inside and out? How are you navigating in that space? How are you navigating in that space? What are you choosing not to forgive and let go that is hindering you from moving forward to attain the level of success that you are aspiring for? Are you showing yourself a level of gratitude? And the people that you are surrounded by, who are uplifting you, who are motivating you, who are giving you that encouragement to go forward, even when there are moments that you feel like giving up. Sit with that tonight and celebrate your wins, big or small, because you work hard to get there. How are you handling rejection? How are you handling failure? How are you handling your setbacks? Because setbacks is giving you another opportunity to move forward. Because you're not starting over. You're starting with great experience, more knowledge, more understanding, giving things a second look to make better choices, more inspiration to move forward so that you can live your true essential self. So tonight, sit back and relax. We got a great and amazing guest tonight who is no stranger to the community, but he's going to reintroduce himself because our audience are growing daily. And so he will tell us more and how we got to this point. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Make your notes because there's so much goodies here tonight for you and that you could share with a friend so that you can move forward with diabetes, type 2 diabetes, and how you can able to keep those tools that can help you when you get the diagnosis from your doctor office. It's not the end. It's just a new lifestyle change that you can do it. You can. My name is Joan Williams, Holistic Health and Wellness Coach. And thank you for purchasing our books and subscribing to our magazines and every single thing because it's so much good in there that can help you. Kelley, welcome.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be here. I feel like I just saw y'all.
That's right. Thank you for saying yes. We value your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Yeah, thanks for having me. I love coming here. It's an awesome show. You guys are great. Love it.
you're great
Appreciate you
too.
inviting me.
Right back to you. So talk to the audience tonight, those who are going to catch us on the replay because we new people are joining all the time. Talk to us about how you got to this point. Share with us.
So diabetes. So now I'm a holistic nutritionist and an
Congratulations.
author and a coach, but a health coach. But before that, I was actually in the worst shape of my life. So I was diabetic, I had heart disease, and I was obese. It was a triple whammy. So I go to the doctor. Well, actually, before that, my mother actually passed away from heart attack, which is the leading cause of death, or metabolic syndromes. She was overweight. She, had chronic health conditions, and then she ultimately ended up passing away from a heart attack. And then I saw both sides of death. So I saw my mom pass away instantly. It was like that, and then I saw my uncle, saw him pass away from cancer. So I was his caretaker during COVID. So during that time, I was taking him to his doctor's visits every day, every other day to get some new medication or go see the doctor and have some chemotherapy or go see the doctor and have a surgery, whatever it was. So it was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until he eventually passed away. They gave him 2 months to live on this last diagnosis, but he ended up living for 5 months. So then after that, I ended up going to the doctor. Well, actually before that, my mother came to me in a dream. Before my uncle came to live with us, she came to me in a dream and told me that I had the ability to be able to help other people heal. So I'm like, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. I don't know what that dream means. This was after she passed away. So I'm a diabetic. I got heart disease and I'm obese. Like, what do I know about healing anybody? But then when he passed away, my uncle passed away, it was like that dream automatically made sense. I was like, I got it. I understand the mission. So I went on a mission to first transform my own health in 2021. After I did that, so I lost about 70 pounds from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, lost about 70 pounds, reversed the diabetes, reversed the heart disease. Now I'm like a fit and energetic kid. And then, at the time I was over 40. So most people say, hey, once you get to be 40, that's it. And like, there's no more coming back from there. Like, you can hang it up. It's only downhill from there. Well, I'm here to tell you that I'm living proof that, and even I have clients that are older than me that I've coached up and they're in their 60s. And now that they haven't seen this kind of blood work, this great blood work in many, many 20, 30 years, you know what I mean? All simply because of the lifestyle changes. So we made a lifestyle change. So it's always, my philosophy is this: lifestyle first. So if you can't fix it with the lifestyle, so when it comes to diabetes, heart disease, and all most of these chronic health conditions, most of them are all, 8 out of the top 10 diseases or killers are all lifestyle related diseases. Mm-hmm. So if it's your lifestyle that caused you to get this disease, then guess what? It is that very same lifestyle that will get you out of the disease. So it's not the medication. Medication is just going to mask the symptoms. That's all it's going to be. Ultimately, you're still going to end up passing away from that same condition. So if you're taking medications from diabetes, probably going to end up passing away from that. If you're taking medications for heart disease, like, all of my family members, guess what? You're probably going to end up passing away from that. If you're taking medication for whatever other chronic health condition that you have, most likely you're going to still pass away from that same condition simply because you didn't get to the root cause of it. And the root cause of it was your lifestyle choices that have led you to that point. So that's my mission now, is to educate people and let them know that they don't have to suffer from these chronic health conditions.
Wow. I mean, thank you for enlightening us on that. And thank you for sharing your story with your mom, who has inspired you. And as you rightfully said, you understood the mission and you took it head on with active obedience. And here you are sitting with us and impacting the world, changing lives, coaching people up and how you can make those lifestyle changes. Because once you can lean into that and follow your guidance as you guide them through the process, they will be able to enjoy and live their true essential self, live their best lives, because you're able to guide them and provide them a level of clarity how they can move forward in making that lifestyle change, which is a lasting transformation, and they can move forward with a level of fulfillment to enjoy their life. Great job.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Yes, I love helping people, and I love helping people. I just tell people, like, listen, man, you don't have to lose your loved ones 20 years too soon. You don't have to lose your loved ones at 55 years old from an avoidable chronic health condition. They're supposed to live into their 80s and 90s,
Right,
fruitful
right.
lives. This is where they're supposed to live. They're not supposed to die at 63 years old from some preventable disease. So that's kind of my philosophy, because here's my philosophy is, one of my favorite quotes is, most people spend their health trying to gain wealth, but then they got to turn right back around and spend their wealth trying to regain their health.
Love that. Love that. That is so true. That is so true. And also you as a coach and all the things that you do, you're having a great level of fulfillment for yourself because you are walking in your purpose. You have a passion for what you're doing, and it's just such a joy for you to see the lifestyle changes when your clients make and embrace that, and you can see them with a different level of spark in their eyes and that joy that, yeah, it's not the end. It's a new beginning, a new lifestyle that I embrace. And you're helping them to do that and achieve that. That's wonderful, Karen.
Oh my goodness, Kelley, you're really helping us to really understand how we can really hit this thing, type 2 diabetes, how we can hit it, And as you rightfully said, it's all about our lifestyle, the lifestyle that we chose to live, and the lifestyle that we chose to live are the foods that we chose to eat. What choice are we really making to put on our plates every single day that we eat? And I would like to just piggyback to talking about family members. What are some of the common challenges families face when supporting a diabetic member?
That's a good question, but most
It's
of
a
the
good
time,
question.
yeah, most of the time what they face is people want to eat whatever they want, whenever they want it.
Right.
Right.
So true. That is
Yeah.
absolutely right.
Yeah.
True.
So if they have someone who's diabetic in the house, most of the time when it comes to, family, friends, they're really not going to cater to your needs when it comes to that, because like I just said, people are going to eat whatever they want. The key word is themselves. They want to take care of themselves first. So if they want to eat, ho-ho Twinkies and all this other stuff, and they just say, whoa, they're not gonna police you. Some people may, but most people are not gonna police you and to say, hey man, don't eat that. It's probably a better choice if you eat this or that. And no one's gonna be policing what you eat. So typically what happens is most people will end up falling into that trap of
Right.
their family members are eating this, or if I go to a party, or if I go here, or if I go there, everybody's eating all of this other stuff that I want to eat. And then eventually your guard starts to come down and you start eating all that stuff too. And then your diabetes ends up getting worse. So you have to find out what works for you.
Right.
You have to find out your why. You have to find out why you're doing it. You find out what I want to do, why I want to do it. And then that's when you'll be successful. So a lot of times, like for me, for instance, whenever I go to a party or whenever I go to, fight party, whatever, wedding or whatever, you have to ask yourself, what are your values? Like, what are your, what values do you hold in place? Like I value that, my mother passed away from a chronic health condition. All my family members passed away from chronic health conditions. And then I go and I get the same diagnosis. So whenever I go to these parties or whatever, and they got all kinds of junk food and, the wings and the chips and the dips and everything, I don't partake in it because I know my values. I know what's important to me. So you have to find out what's important to you. So you got to ask yourself, like, hey, what are my values? What are my values in that sense when it comes to write down like your top 3 values when it comes to your life, when it comes to your health. And if one of those is whatever your values are, and if one of those values is not caring about what other people think, like one of my values is I care about what other people think when it comes to me, what I eat. If that's one of your values, then okay, great. But if that's not one of your values, if you say my value is I want to be healthy for myself, I want to live, 20, 30 years, I want to be here for my kids, I want to be whatever your why is. That is what you have to live your values by, not by what someone else's thinks. But again, I know that's hard to say because a lot of people we base our lives off of what other people think. But if we really knew how much other people didn't think about us, let's just say if you're, you get into a car, you get into an argument on the road rage on the road. It might have happened 10 hours ago, and you're still thinking about it. You get home and you're just like, oh man, this guy cut me off, blah, blah, blah. On the road. It's 10 hours later. Like it's gone, it's past, man. Like you got to let it go. So because that guy who still had the road rage, I'm pretty sure he's not thinking about you.
Sure.
He's not thinking about you,
Right.
but you're still stuck on it 10 hours later. So if we knew how little people care about us when it comes to that, what we thought or, our actions, then you wouldn't let it bother you.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, John.
No, you go.
I really like what you said just now about your values. You got to know your values because that is super important, because when you know your value, you could able to make better choices for yourself.
Of course.
Self-awareness. It all comes to self-awareness as well. You got to know yourself. You got to know what you're standing up for. So as you rightfully said, if you go to a family gathering or a function or wherever, and the types of foods that are there, if you know what you're going to eat, you're going to say, well, I'm not going to have those stuff that is there. And it's quite okay. It's quite okay because you have value. You have value. It's quite okay. And you have a choice. We all have choices. And it depends on what choice we're making to put in. Is input, as you said, Sunday, it's the input.
Right.
It's that input. And we got to look at the input because the input is very important. My next question to you, Kelley, is what is inflammation and how inflammation plays a significant role in type 2 diabetes?
So inflammation is basically, let me explain it like this. It's kind of like when I talked about the traffic jam. Here's what inflammation is. There is, when you're on the road and you see a traffic jam, beep, 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 beep. That's kind of what inflammation is. It's basically a disruption in the cell's signal. So therefore, if there's different types of inflammation. Let's just say if you stub your toe, you stub your toe and you see your toes start to flare up, that's because your body's sending a signal to like, hey, I need to go treat that. Go treat that to that area. Go right there, go right there, go right there. And you'll see your toes start to swell up. But then you also have inflammation, internal inflammation. So when it comes to inflammation is kind of basically like the signal to the cells are not getting there. So you have to use different types of foods to be able to clear that up. Mm-hmm. Foods like berries, nuts, right, seeds, foods that are loaded with not antibiotics, with the I can't even think of the word right now. But anyway, that's what inflammation is. Inflammation is basically a signal sending to your body, to your cells, saying that there's a clog, there's a collision here. So we got to send in reinforcements to actually to clear that up. So that's when we send in the fire department. So you send in the fire department to be able to clear that, to be able to clear the road up. So now the traffic is flowing smoothly. All right. So this is what you want to do. That's all dependent on the foods that you're eating. So if you're eating high inflammatory foods that are going to inflame your gut, per se, foods that are not supposed to be there, the body's going to say, hey, what the heck is this? Let me send those defense mechanisms there to be able to try to treat that signal. So therefore, when your body's inflammation, so inflammation is basically the underlying symptom for every condition that there is. If you have a condition, if you say like diabetes, if you have a condition, it's all based on inflammation. Mm-hmm. All right. So everything, the foundation of everything is based on inflammation. That comes from those cells colliding with one another, and you need something to come in and clear it up. And that's all based on the foods that you're eating.
Right. Exactly. Thank you for explaining that.
You're gonna have a lot of clogs. So that's basically what inflammation is in a nutshell.
In a nutshell. Thank you for explaining that. Talk to us about someone with type 2 diabetes. Take us of some of the things take us to the supermarket. How should we shop? What should we look for? What should we pay attention? What are the most important things that we should have in our shopping carts?
You're breaking up there, but back saying, okay, I lost you for a second. We're back now.
Okay. What are some of the things?
You said take you to the supermarket?
Yeah, take us to the supermarket. What are the things we should pay attention when we're shopping to put in our shopping cart?
So when you go to the grocery store and you look to the left or you look to the right and you see all those colors over there in the produce aisle?
Right.
There's yellow, there's green, there's purple, there's blacks. There's all these different, there's all these different colors of fruits and vegetables. That is where you want to start. You want to start in the produce area. Mainly, you want to stock up on the vegetables. Stock up on the vegetables. When you're a diabetic, you want to stock up on the vegetables as much as possible. Vegetables are loaded with fiber. Now, let's just say today's vegetables are not as good as they once were because of what we've done to the soil. So there's not as many nutrients in these vegetables as they were, let's just say, 50 years ago, 25, 50 years ago, simply because the soil is depleted and things of that nature. But the main thing that you still want to get the vegetables. There's still nutrients in orange bell pepper, green kale, shop in the produce area, and then it all depends on what kind of diet you're on. So if you're on a animal-based diet where you eat fish, maybe you're a pescatarian, and head over to the fish department, right? But you want to make sure that you get the whole food. So when it comes to foods that you want to avoid, foods that you want to get are mainly foods in the produce aisle, and then foods that you want to avoid are the foods pretty much throughout the rest of the store. So these are going to be ultra processed foods in the sense that the crackers, the cookies, the whole Twinkies, the zebra cakes, the I said Twinkies, the honey buns, all of the chips and all, everything. It's like, oh, what is this new product? You're like, oh, this is a new product. Oh, look at this new taste. Yeah, see, they design the food that way because they know that you're gonna be like, oh, this is a new taste. So what engineers do, food engineers do, they design the food, this designer food. So that's why it's called ultra processed foods or designer food. The food is designed. It's not natural. It's designed. It doesn't come from basically it's man-made. So man-made food is detrimental if you're diabetic, because that's going to spike your blood sugar like you wouldn't imagine. Right.
Wow.
So those are the foods that you want to get. You want to stay in the produce aisle, and if you get meat or animal products, you want to make sure you get non-processed animal products. So I'm talking about sausages, salami, the deli meats. These are all meats that you want to avoid, because these meats are put into a category of group 1 carcinogen, meaning that they have been known to cause cancer. There have been many studies that say these processed animal products, like I said, the sausages and the salami and the pepperoni and all these things that are ultra processed are detrimental to your health as well. So if you want to do a whole meat, like that's perfectly fine if you want to do that, but stay away from the ultra processed animal products and the ultra processed carbohydrates, or basically food throughout the aisles. Cereal, let's get away from the cereal. Cereal is, I know they say like, hey, if cereal's heart healthy, like Cheerios. You look at cereal, hey, this thing's heart healthy, right? But at the end of the day, that's all just marketing. Marketing is one hell of a thing. I got a chapter in my book called "Marketing is One Hell of a Thing," because anything that they can and will market to you that's healthy, they will do that. All right. So I recommend eating foods that have stay away from foods that don't have a label. You can eat foods that have a label, but try to eat foods that don't have a label as much as you can.
Wow. Thank you for explaining that to us. And so now we already in the shopping, we already went to the supermarket. Talk to us about now, how do we prepare, what do we start with our breakfast in the morning? I know you went into detail on enriching mind belief, but this is for the other audience here tonight. Talk to us about breakfast. What do we start with? What is a safer choice we should use that is going to help us through?
Breakfast. If you're a diabetic, breakfast is the most important meal. Let me say it's the most impactful meal. Not important, but it's the most impactful meal of the day. Let's just say I start my day with traditional American way. What we do is we'll grab a cereal with some milk in it. We'll grab maybe a croissant, maybe a bagel, maybe a banana or whatever, or something high, or maybe we may grab some coffee, and then we may load it up with some sugar. Okay, if you do that, that is going to send you on a glucose roller coaster throughout the day. It's going to make your glucose rise first thing in the morning, and then it's going to fall. Rise, and then it's going to fall, and then you'll start getting more cravings. Like, I'm having more cravings for this, or more cravings for sugar, or maybe I'm tired, maybe I'm hungry. Those are the three things that are going to happen. You're tired, you're hungry, or you're going to get some more cravings. And then you'll eat something else that has maybe something sweet, and then next thing you know, it'll fall down again. So it's just literally like this throughout the day. So that's going to affect how you feel. That's going to affect it. Maybe you may be groggy, maybe you may be sleepy, maybe you may have hunger cravings, maybe whatever. But to negate that, for breakfast, you want to have a savory breakfast. So let's get rid of the sweet breakfast altogether. When I say savory breakfast, I want you to be a non-sweet breakfast, meaning high protein. Get yourself a high protein breakfast. So basically, I tell people like this: whatever you would eat for lunch or dinner, I want you to eat that for breakfast. Okay, it could be a protein, whatever protein that you choose. and some vegetables. If you do that throughout the day, if you're diabetic, you eat a high protein meal with some vegetables in the morning, that is going to make your glucose levels go like this throughout the day, pretty steady. So when lunchtime comes, you're not on some roller coaster like this. You're like this, you're flat. So when you're flat like that, you want to flatten your glucose. Now that's going to help with your energy levels, right? You're not going to have these crashes. You're not going to have these hunger cravings. You're not going to have all of this sugar cravings simply because you have steady glucose levels. So breakfast time, most impactful meal of the day. Start off with a high protein breakfast with some vegetables. Try that for a week. You try that for a week. It's called the savory breakfast. Just try that for a week. See how you feel. See how you feel throughout the rest of the day. Monitor how you feel. Like, okay, it's lunchtime. I had a savory breakfast. Am I hungry? Is my energy levels good? Or am I eating lunch just because it's lunchtime? Am I hungry? No, I'm not. Maybe I am hungry. Maybe I'm not hungry. But test that out to see how you feel. Everybody's going to be a little bit different, but the idea is to flatten your glucose levels, curves.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Karen.
so whatever you would eat for lunch or dinner, eat that for breakfast.
Wow.
Wow.
That listening to you and giving that explanation to that question, it really helps us to understand how we really have to change our diet and change our thinking about what we're eating, because as you rightfully said just now, we always run for the simplest way for morning breakfast, which is grabbing cereal or the sugars, and then we're having that. Then in the middle of the day, we are crashed, So that's a really good advice that you're giving to the audience that, you have a savory breakfast in the morning. So when you have that savory breakfast in the morning, you would not be that hungry or running to get sweets because you really take care of yourself with the first meal of the day, which is very impactful to us as individuals, how we're really taking care of our lives. My question to you, Kelley, now is what role do mindfulness or stress reduction plays in managing diabetes?
Oh, that's a beautiful question, because if you ever heard of Cushing's disease.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cushing's disease. I had a client one time. Basically it's diabetes caused through stress.
Mm.
So that's for diabetes. So you'll hear a lot of people say, "Oh man, I got diabetes because of this, because of stress." I used to think that was baloney. Like, you can't get diabetes because of stress. But when you're stressed out, here's what happens. So here's why stress is bad, and you want to manage your stress. That's part of I have a formula. The first P stands for, it's a PACE formula. The P stands for peaceful mind. The reason that you want to have a peaceful mind when you're a diabetic is because cortisol is the stress hormone. So if you're stressed out all the time, cortisol, here's what's supposed to happen with cortisol. You wake up in the morning, you go out into the sun, maybe 30 minutes into the sun. 30 minutes after you wake up in the morning, that's when your cortisol peaks. That's basically says like, hey, I have energy, I'm vibrant, I am ready to go have an awesome day, right? That's what cortisol does.
Right.
Now, it's supposed to taper off. But what happens if you're highly stressed is it stays elevated all day. It stays elevated all day. You're like, man, I'm agitated. I can't sleep at night because I'm so stressed. This is because you have high cortisol levels. So what that does for diabetics, how you get diabetes from stress is your liver will put out so basically, when you're stressed out, that's your fight or flight hormone. That's your fight or flight that says, hey, I'm stressed out. So it tells your nervous system to switch gears from being in relax mode to stress mode. Like, I'm getting ready to fight. So when you have high cortisol levels, that means like, I'm getting ready to fight. I'm getting ready to run from a lion. I'm getting ready to do something stressful. So what your liver does is has stored glucose called glycogen. It will send that into your bloodstream. It will send that into your bloodstream so that your muscles can use it. to fight. That's what it's there for. So when you have high cortisol levels, it tells your liver to send out a bunch of glucose. So therefore, send out a bunch of glucose. Now you got a bunch of insulin, because that's what insulin's job is, to take glucose and put them into the cell. So if you have high cortisol levels, stress levels, then if you have high insulin levels, that will cause you to become insulin resistant. Will become insulin resistant because you have high stress levels. So I never understood that scenario. I never understood that connection until I got certified in nutrition. I understand, like in diabetes, I understand like, oh, I get how stress causes that now. So when people have Cushing's disease, it's simply because they have high stress levels. Basically, like it's another form of diabetes when you have Cushing's disease, because they're stressed out all the time. So they're stressed out, and adrenaline, cortisol and adrenaline will cause glucose to shoot into your bloodstream, which will cause you to have high blood sugar, which will cause you to have high insulin levels, which will cause the insulin resistance, which will cause diabetes.
Wow.
So that's why it's very important to manage your stress levels. Right? I recommend the 3 M's: meditation, mindfulness, meet with your therapist.
Meditation, mindfulness, and meet with your therapist. Yeah. I like that.
3M.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. I like
that. Those are very important when it comes to stress management. Of course, you can do there's breathing techniques that you can do. What's important is before you go to bed at night. What's the most important thing is to not watch craziness before you go to bed. So if you're watching like Jeffrey Dahmer slasher movies, a Tom Cruise action movie, Mission Impossible, Terminator, or werewolf movies, or something crazy, right? Mm-hmm. If you watch that before you go to bed, like an hour before you go to bed, 30 minutes before you go to bed, you're gonna probably end up dreaming about that same stuff. You're gonna wake up and be like, man, why did I dream about craziness? Simply because you had that deep on your subconscious. And then when you wake up in the morning, first thing we do is we grab our phone. Mm-hmm. If you want to grab your phone to put on something from YouTube to meditate, some soft music. Meditate for like 30 minutes. Put on some soft music and just let it flow.
Yeah.
Because that you want to do that morning and night, simply because in the morning time when you first wake up, that's when your mind is the most open. Like your subconscious is the most open. And then right before you go to sleep, it's also open as well. So whatever you put inside of there during that time, it's going to go deep to your subconscious. So if you're putting on stressful stuff at nighttime, it's going to lead to your stress. It's going to lead to your diabetes being exacerbated.
Yeah. Those are beautiful tips that you're giving to the audience to help them to really quiet your mind, be mindful, and go into that space that we talk about when we start a show, just pausing, and so that you can feel fulfilled, and you can quiet, you can think better, you're leaning in. That's truly amazing. Talk to us about how does someone who's have the situation with IBS, how do they repair that intestinal flora? Talk to us about that.
The same thing when it comes to it's all about the flora, the gut flora. The gut bugs are basically if you have IBS, in simple terms, it just means that your gut is destroyed from all the stuff that you've eaten from over the years. So if you've eaten a lot of bad stuff over the years, you've killed off all of the good gut. So we have good gut bugs and bad gut bugs, right? So if you're eating a lot of junk food, a lot of ultra processed foods, you're going to kill off all of the good stuff. So the second that you try to eat something, all of the good bugs. So the second that you try to eat something that's maybe a high fiber meal, you're going to be like, oh man, my gut hurts. Oh man, I can't eat beans, or I can't eat, I can't eat kale, right? Or I can't eat vegetables, or I can't eat because vegetables are high in fiber. So if you don't have the right gut flora, that's going to affect you tremendously. So when it comes to IBS, you have to ease your way into it. Simplicity is the key when it comes to IBS. So don't try to like have a big variety of stuff when it comes to IBS, because your gut is not built for that. You have to restore your gut. You have to restore it. So it takes about 3-4 months for that gut flora to completely turn over. So based on what you're eating, so if you continue to eat bad stuff, it's going to stay that way. But if you flip it and you start eating a lot of high fiber food, it's going to suck in the beginning. Like your body is not going to accept that because of the high fiber foods. But the more you eat it, the more your gut bugs will start to change. Right. So basically you got to replant the garden. So if your garden is basically, if you have IBS, that means that you let the weeds take the garden.
Right.
So if you've let the weeds take the garden, to get a new garden, you got to pull those old weeds up.
Right.
You got to retill the garden, the soil, and then you got to replant. So it's the same thing when it comes to IBS. You basically have to pull all the weeds up and you got to replant. So this takes a few months to happen. It's not something that happens overnight. So if you try to change your diet and you IBS and you're like, oh man, I don't like this, I'm going back to what I know, you got to stick it out. You got to stick it. You got to go through the fire. You got to go through. That's the only way to cure IBS is going through the fire.
So it calls for a lot of commitment, right?
Right.
Yeah, a lot of commitment.
Dedication. Courage.
Yeah, you'll know. I mean, a lot of people, if you're constipated or if you're every time you eat something, your gut is hurting, it's a bad situation. So you got to find out, how committed are you to this process?
Right.
I've had some clients before that IBS and they, constipated for 2 weeks. I'm like, man, that's pretty. Yeah.
Wow.
That's bad.
Yeah,
That's
I'm glad
really
you touched on
bad.
that because a lot of people sometimes suffer from constipation. So it is the diet they got to do. And what if someone is looking at you tonight or going to catch you on the replay? What is one thing that they can do? I know there are many, but one thing they can do to avoid the level of constipation and having a level of discomfort.
Well, the discomfort is going to come. But the one thing, like I said, the one thing that you want to do is you just want to keep it as simple as possible. Find something that works for you. Find a food that works for you, and you eat that food. You eat that food consistently, basically, until you get bored with it, because that's rebuilding your gut. Right. The second you start throwing different stuff in there, that's going to affect your gut. So you want to try to keep it as simple as possible. Eat one type of food. Eat that food. Just keep on eating it, keep on eating it, keep on eating it until your body starts to get used to it, until you start to rebuild those gut bugs. Then you can start adding more food in. But that would be the simplest thing I would say is just find something that's good for you, a good high fiber high fiber vegetable, and you eat that. It may be beans, it may be, some other type of vegetable. But vegetables, the reason I say vegetables is because vegetables are called prebiotics. Prebiotics are basically the soil. Without the prebiotics, that's the only place that prebiotics come from, or the plants. So if you're not eating enough plants, you don't have enough plants in your diet, that's going to affect your IBS as well. So it's to keep it as super simple as possible. Don't try to eat a variety of stuff. Like a lot of my clients, I have them, eat the rainbow. I don't want you to eat the rainbow if you got IBS, right? You're eating the rainbow with IBS, then you're going to have some issues. You're going to have some tummy aches because you have all these different types of, fibers being thrown in there, which will affect you. So you just want to keep it as simple as possible in the beginning.
Wow. Oh my goodness, you're really enriching this space this evening, Kelley, because you're really explaining everything in depth to help an individual to understand, how really to take care of your body and how really to manage type 2 diabetes, because a lot of people are really suffering with type 2 diabetes, and they don't know how to really battle this disease, and sometimes you find that because of that, they just give up. But here you are in this space and you're really giving us a lot of hope, You're really giving us hope here that we can battle this disease if we really change our diet and our lifestyle. We can really help ourselves on a very deep level. My question to you, are there natural remedies or supplements to safely complement conventional treatments? Excuse
Yeah,
me.
absolutely. Like I said, it's all about my PACE formula. So PACE. These are all lifestyle related. So peaceful mind, like I talked about earlier, this is gonna help combat that. An active body is going to help combat that as well. The reason you want to have active body is when you're diabetic is because it bypasses your pancreas. We talked about pancreas on Sunday, but it takes the glucose that you've just eaten and it puts it directly into the muscles. So it makes your muscles more sensitive to insulin, right? You want to be insulin sensitive, not insulin resistant. So peaceful mind, active body, clean eating, like we talked about clean eating.
Right.
Clean eating is very important. And then the last part of the formula is effective sleep. So this is called lifestyle medicine. There's 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine, but I just gave you 4. Right. So these are the 4 that you want to concentrate on. Peaceful mind, active body, clean eating, effective sleep. You want to be, when it comes to active body, you don't have to go out there and be like, oh, I got to go out there and be, LeBron James, or I got to go out there and be like this, big time athlete or whatever. I'm not asking you to do that. I'm just asking you to go out to move your body in something that's fun, something that's exciting for you. Start off with something small, like 3 days a week. Like if you're not working out at all, start off with something small, like 2 to 3 days a week, 30 minutes a day, something that's fun. It could be like, hey, I'm going out to go dance with my friends, or I'm going out to go wrestle with the kids in the backyard, right? I'm gonna go throw the football around, run some routes with my son. All right, this is what I mean by being active. Something that's fun for you that you enjoy. It doesn't
Enjoy, right?
Activity doesn't have to be like, oh, I hate doing this. It doesn't have to be that way. It has to be something that you enjoy, that you want to keep the activity levels up. Right. So start off with something small, like 3 days a week. 3 days a week, and then build up from there. Build up to about 5 days a week. But start off with something small, 3 days a week. So peaceful mind, active body, clean eating, effective sleep. These are lifestyle pillars. And once you get these all dialed in, those 4 right there, you will start to notice some changes in your body. You start to notice some changes in your diabetes. You start to notice the changes in the way you think. You start to notice changes in the way, kind of how you even react to people. Because I've learned that there's 2 things that you can control. Only 2 things that you can control in this life. And number 1 is your own thoughts. That's the only thing that you can control. And number 2 is your reaction. So you can control your thoughts and your reactions. Those are the only 2 things on this earth that you can't control. You can't even control your kids. Try to control the way I don't have kids, but I've seen the kids. But I've seen people in the store trying to control their kids. They can't even control their kids. Right? So the only 2 things that on this earth that you can control are your own thoughts and your own reactions. Other than that, you can't control it.
That's so true. Go a little bit deeper with somebody who might be joining us when you talk about clean eating.
Yeah, clean eating. 90% of the time, here's what I recommend. Here's what my philosophy is. Eat real food, mostly plants, but do it in moderation. Right. So when I say eat real food, this is food that's come off a branch, food that's come from the dirt, food that's come from, the soil, food that's come from a tree, a branch, a limb, something like that. This is whole foods. And then also, like I said, even if you eat animal products, like, hey, you want to stay away from the ultra processed meats. So the salamis, the deli meats, the sausages, these are foods that are detrimental for your health. So if you like the whole meats, okay, great. Totally up to you what you do. But what I recommend is eat real food, mostly plants. Eat plants. To make plants the majority of your diet. Not saying that you can't have other stuff, but you want to eat plants 80 to 90% of the time. You want to make that 80 to 90% of your diet. The rest, you can have whatever you want to have. But the idea is to eat real food, mostly plants, but do it in moderation. So what I say about moderation, what does that mean? That means leave enough room to tie off the sack. So it's called the 80% rule. So leave about 80%, eat till you're about 80% full. Leave enough room to tie off the sack. So what that means is whenever you do laundry, if you fill the basket all the way to the top, you can't tie off the sack, right? But if you leave a little space, like that, then you can tie off the sack and, throw it in the corner. So that's how you want to eat. When you eat and you feel like, hey, I'm about 80% full, you'll know when you're 80% full. Most of the time, what we do is when we eat something that says, "Oh, this food tastes so good. I'm gonna eat this until I cannot. I'm gonna eat this." You might be like grandma's made like, "Hey, you ate all your food," and then grandma's like, "Hey, I made this dessert. Okay, now let's eat this dessert." And then, or your Aunt Sally made this other dish. You're like, "Aunt Sally, I'm full," but she's like, "No, you got to eat some of this." You're like,
Right.
"Shoot," That's pushing past the 80%. Like, when you're full. Most of the times we know when we're full, but we push past that anyway because the food just tastes so good. Or somebody's twisting our arm to say, "Hey, eat more, man. Eat more." Well, when you get to that point, when I talked about mindfulness earlier, mindfulness is being aware, being conscious of what you're thinking about, or being conscious of the food that's going into your body. If you're eating a strawberry, it's like, I'm going to taste every ounce of this strawberry. Or if you're eating, whatever you're eating, I want to taste the food, enjoy the food, savor it. Like let your taste buds chew it all the way through, and like think about every bite that you're eating. This is called mindful eating.
Right.
And then you'll know that, hey, I think that I'm full. But if you eat fast, it's like, I'm gonna eat fast. You push past that. You don't even know when you're full. You don't give your body enough time to send that signal from your brain to your stomach that says, I'm full, because you're just eating too fast. So slow down, enjoy the food, enjoy every bite. And that's called mindful eating.
Right.
So that's what I say. Eat real food, mostly plants, but do it in moderation. That's my philosophy. Leave enough room to tie off the sack.
Right. I like how you touch on mindful eating, because it is so important, because we live in such a fast-paced world. We grab, we go. But I'm so glad that you dive deep into speak about mindful eating and take your time and chew your food and just enjoy that, so that you can feel good. And when you said 80% and leave some room to tie off the sack, beautifully explained.
Leave some room to tie off the sack. Most people don't. So I know when I was a diabetic, when I had heart disease, when I was obese, I did not leave any room to tie off the sack. Right? I was going to eat as much as I want, however much I wanted to eat. That was my thought process, and no one's going to tell me different. So it's called a grasshopper mentality.
Right. Talk about that.
and calling it. We love that.
The grasshopper mentality is, see, I believe that there's two types of mindsets, mentalities when it comes to people. Either you're going to be an ant or you're going to be a grasshopper. What's a grasshopper? Grasshopper is hopping around in the summertime, just thinking about the present. They're not planning ahead for the future. So they're hopping around in the high grass, basically like I was, eating whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, however I wanted, until something broke. So what happened, what broke for me is, now I go to the doctor and I got, diabetes. Now I got heart disease. Now I'm obese. You see, but the ant, on the other hand, the ant has a totally different way of thinking. The ant is always planning ahead. So the ant knows that winter is coming. So if she knows that winter is coming, she's storing her provisions in the summer to prepare for the winter, because she knows that a storm is coming. while the grasshopper is laughing at the ant. Like, yo, what are you doing working? It's the summertime, right? So the ants are planning ahead. So guess what happens to the grasshopper when the wintertime comes? He perishes, he runs out of food, and he ends up starving to death. While the ants, they have plenty to eat. You see, they have plenty to eat because they planned ahead. So, and when it comes to our health, this is what happens. Most of the time, we'll have a grasshopper mentality. Like, I'm not worried about my health until I go to the doctor and the doctor says something broke. Like something broke, like now you got this chronic health condition. So I'm asking the doc, hey, doc, can you give me a bailout plan? Can you give me a bailout plan? Well, the bailout plan doesn't always work. So therefore, you have to think like an ant and plan ahead. Plan ahead to be like, okay, I know what I'm supposed to do. I know the kind of health that I want to have. So therefore, I have to plan ahead, do what I'm supposed to do right now in the summertime, and prepare for the winter, because I know the storm is coming. The storm could come in. Like what happened to the grasshopper. The storm came for him and he didn't survive, while the ants had plenty to eat. And they're out again when the spring comes, when the sun comes back. So this is what they do year after year after year. This is what ants do. But the grasshopper, they just think about the here and the now. So that's the difference between the ant and the grasshopper. So be an ant, don't be a grasshopper. Like I was a true grasshopper. I was the epitome of grasshopper.
Yeah. Wow. What a great way to really analyze our lives, because many times we are grasshoppers, we just hop around the place, and we're now making good choices, and we're not thinking about ourselves. We just hop in, and the ant now is very strategic, and they think about the future, as you rightfully said. They think about the future, and that is what we really need to step back and look at our lives and think about ourselves. How are we living, and what are some of our changes that we really need to make in our lifestyle, the things that we're eating, and I really like when you touched on mindfulness, because many times we don't have a modality that we can really go to really harness and pivot ourselves. Like when we wake up in the morning, many of us, we run to our cell phones, or we turn on the television, and we're now refueling our lives, So when things arise during the day, we kind of cave in, because we don't have nothing that a foundation that we are standing on to pivot ourselves. So we really got to really look at our lives and see where we are heading. And as you rightfully said, we got to know our values. We got to know our values, and we have to really write down our values and make commitment to ourselves. You know what? When I get up in the morning, I'm going to do my meditation. I'm going to do my prayer, whatever works for you. You got to lean into that, and you got to refuel yourself, because the thing is that we keep pouring over ourselves. We keep pouring all the time, and we're not taking the time to refuel our lives. And because we're not doing that, we find we get exhausted. Many times people get angry. Many times people get brain fog, because we are not taking the time. We are on the go all the time, and we're not looking after ourselves. So we really got to stop. We really got to stop and look at our lives and what we are really doing. If you really want to live a really successful life is not only being successful in the business world. You got to look at yourself. You got to look at yourself, how you're really taking care of yourself. It is super important. And, we as a society, we have really lost that. We really lost that. Kelley, my question to you now, what steps can communities take to educate people about type 2 diabetes?
Oh man, that's a good question. That's probably a big question that the world is.
Well, no, We need to educate people more
Yeah,
on this,
we
you
need
know?
we need to educate the people, because here's the thing about that. Here's the thing. It's hard to educate the community, because when you become a type 2 diabetic, first thing you're going to do is you're going to go through the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you go to the doctor, they are going to tell you all of this stuff, and they're not going to tell you a lot of stuff. They're going to first thing they're going to do is they're going to diagnose you. And then the second thing they're going to do is they're going to give you a prescription. And then the third thing that they're going to do is give you a treatment plan. Like, hey, you got to take this much medication and blah, blah, blah. So when I talk to people every day, they look at me crazy when I tell them, like, listen, man, like type 2 diabetes is totally reversible. I'm talking about out in the community. Type 2 diabetes is totally reversible. And they look at me like,
Right.
like, yeah, it's reversible. And I'll tell them, they'll tell me, this is the first thing that they say. This is their response. Well, my doctor didn't tell me that. Or it's not, that's not, no, they'll say, that's not what my doctor says. That's what they say. That's not what my doctor says. So I've gotten to people, and they'll tell me, like, hey, you expect me to listen to you instead of my doctor?
Right.
Who's gone to school for, 8 years or blah, blah, blah. And then I found out that a doctor is one of the most trusted professions.
Mm-hmm.
So if your doctor tells you to do it, then you're going to do it, right? But if I'm the guy who's lived it, I'm the guy who's certified in nutrition and helping people specifically with this, they're gonna be like, well, you're still not a doctor, right? Mm-hmm. So therefore, I'm not going to listen to you until they start doing it, themselves, and they start seeing the results. Like, I had a guy one time, and he was like, you expect me to listen to you over my doctor? I'm like, hey, man, whatever, do what you do.
It's your choice.
And then he came back and he tried it for 3 months. And in 3 months, this guy cut his cholesterol in half. His A1C dropped in 3 months. And this guy was, in his 50s, and his cholesterol dropped. And he was just he didn't do everything that I tell him. He just ate real food, mostly plants, but he did it in moderation. That simple concept: eat real food, not too much, mostly plants. And his whole thing started to turn around simply from following that simple concept. I mean, he came back and was like, yeah, man, you were right. I'm like, hey, man, it's not that I'm trying to be right. I'm just telling you, like, it's your lifestyle. It should be your lifestyle first, and then medication second. So when it comes to the community, man, we got to figure out we got to sit down and we got to educate the doctors too. So I talk to a lot of doctors, and I tell them the same thing, and they're like, wow, they're like, I didn't know that. It's not that because doctors aren't educated when it comes to nutrition. Right. Doctors, when it comes to it's like they spend 8 hours of nutrition, right? Unless they're a lifestyle medicine doctor. If they're a lifestyle medicine doctor, they get it. But if they're not a lifestyle medicine doctor and they're a traditional doctor, they are not going to tell their patients to do that. So we got to educate the doctors and tell the doctors, like, listen, man, if you really want to help people, it starts with their lifestyle. So it's lifestyle first, medication second. But I don't know how that's going to go over, but that's
that's a biggie.
Yeah.
You and I know that's a biggie.
Yeah, that's going to affect their bottom line.
Absolutely.
It's going to affect their bottom line.
Absolutely.
And wow. I saw somebody wrote, don't dig a grave with your teeth. That's one of my favorite quotes. Don't dig a grave with
my teeth. Yes.
Right.
Digging a grave with your teeth. Exactly.
Yeah.
Ben said that. Yeah. Don't dig a grave with your teeth.
Oh my goodness, Kelley, you have really, really unbottled wellness here.
Unbottled wellness.
You have really unbottled wellness here, and you really help us to really understand type 2 diabetes. And you help us to understand so many other things in depth, like inflammation, your values, your how your body function. You talk about the cells, you talk about the pancreas. You really touch on a lot of stuff. You walk us through the body, and you help us to understand what we put in. It is super important for us to really have a good health. And we have to be advocate for our lives. We have to be advocate for our lives. Many times, yes, you have your doctor, but you have to be advocate for your lives, because the one thing that we all know is that the body can heal itself. The body has the ability to heal itself once given the chance. It has the ability to heal itself, and we have to make that conscious choice that, what? I know this temple that I have here, it can heal itself. So I can start to make these conscious choices of what I'm going to eat to help this vessel to heal itself. Because this is all that we have to take us around, And if we don't show it love and compassion and what we're eating, how you expect it going to serve you? So we got to start looking at our lives and re-examining certain things that we are doing with our lives. Because you know what? The beautiful things that we're given this vessel to move around with. We're given this beautiful vessel, but we're not taking care of it, right, Kelley? We're not taking care of this vessel. And we really need to step back and look at ourselves, look at our lives, and see what are some of the things that we can do to enhance and enrich this vessel that we're taking around every day. Right, Joan?
Wow. Wow, wow. But you always surface so well. And every time you come to the space, you just sprinkle more. You give more. You enlighten more. Clarity, insight, perspectives. And when you spoke about mindful eating, that's so important. Take the time to enjoy whatever is it you're eating. And when you talk about it, 80%, and leave some room, that 20% to tie the sack. Super important. And how we live our lives is a reflection of the life we will enjoy. Our practices, what we decide, the conscious choice we make to put in our mouth. I can hear some people might, oh my God, I love my hot dogs. I love my salamis. I love my cold cuts. I've been doing this all along. This is the thing that I enjoy. But what is it doing to you? How does it make you feel after? And when you gather new information, it can help you to make better choices.
Yes.
You can take it, of course, you love this. You enjoy it. You've been doing it all the time. But you can make small choices, small increments at a time to make the change so you can put the right kind of healthy gut bugs in your body, your gut, your microbiome, so that you can take care of yourself and live a quality life, not only surviving, but thriving.
Mm-hmm.
Be your best. Walk in that level of excellence. You can step in your power. You can show up feeling fully, feeling alive, healthy, and have that level of vitality. But when you don't feel good and your microbiome and your gut is not well, your brain fog, your fatigue, you can't live the life you want to live.
Mm-mm.
So today, look at yourself. Shop wisely when you go to the supermarket. Look what you're taking home. Look what you have in your pantry, your refrigerator, and how you cook. How do you start your breakfast in the morning? You're someone who's have type 2 diabetes. Or generally, how are you eating? And the practices, your morning routine, you're stopping, you're pausing, whatever your modalities may be, your meditation, you're quieting your mind so you can lean in And at nighttime, you can practice whatever modalities that you wish. But just that you can able to say center and balance, and you could show up with your power and live your true essential self. Kelley, you have done well as always, and you have fed us very well.
We always got to eat, right?
Yeah, you.
The good stuff. The good stuff.
Good stuff. Absolutely.
I have one question before we leave,
Yeah,
Kelley.
let's hear it.
Like for instance, you was in the Navy, right?
Mm-hmm.
For someone in the Navy, right? And
Okay.
I'm going there. For someone in the Navy and the food is being prepared, right?
Yeah.
How would someone like a pre-diabetic or even type 1, type 2, how can they manage that within that setting? Because they don't really have no control over that food.
Yeah, if you're on a ship like that, if you're on the ship and you're in the middle of the ocean, I mean, you just got to eat what you got to eat. That's a tough one. I'm not even gonna pretend that it's not a tough one because I've been in the Navy, so I know what they serve on the ships. I know that you got to eat whatever they got, right? You can't be like, hey man, I'm a pre-diabetic or I'm diabetic. Can you make me a special menu? Like nobody's gonna make you a special menu, right? The best I can say is try to bring as much as your own food as you possibly can.
Okay.
When it comes to your snacks, and it's, when you go through the line, you're gonna go through the line. I mean, you gotta try to just be more conscious of what you're eating. I know it's different. Again, like I said, when you're in the Navy, if you've ever been on the ship like I have, and the line is long, and you got to eat whatever you got to eat. You know, if you're on the ocean for a week or 2 or 3 or however long that you're on the ocean, you got to eat what you got to eat.
Right.
You know,
someone is asking a question in terms of IBS. Are you familiar with FMT, fecal microbiota transplantation? And if so, have you found it to be effective?
Yeah, absolutely. That means you can take someone's.
Good question.
Yeah,
that means you can take someone's feces and put them into you. If you can take someone, let's just say someone's in a great mood. Someone is like they're always happy, they're always bubbly, they're always, excited, and then you take the feces and then you take it and put it in someone who's depressed. That person who's depressed will start to be more upbeat, more excited, more about life, and then vice versa. If you take the feces from someone who is depressed and put it in someone who's happy-go-lucky, you'll notice that person is like, dude, why am I thinking like this? Or what's going on with that?
Right.
Why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling like having negative thoughts? That's because your gut microbiome, literally, it's so important, your gut microbiome, that it will literally dictate your personality. Like that's how important it is. All right. So I've seen a documentary. Well, I don't know what the second part of the question was, but I did see a documentary where someone was taking, like, I don't want to gross you out or anything, but someone asked a question. They were taking like their brother's feces, and they were putting it in these little capsules, and they were just like taking it like that.
Wow.
Yeah. So it goes down into, it goes into your gut and all that stuff. Eventually you'll start to get the same gut bugs that your brother has. Right? I forget the documentary it was, but it was pretty gross what the person was doing. But that's how what fecal transfer does. It's
fecal microbiota.
Fecal microbiota. Yeah, you can take it from rats, whatever, a sad rat into a happy rat, vice versa, and they'll start to develop those traits.
What about blood transfusion?
I don't know much about blood transfusions. That's not my area of expertise.
Okay.
I don't know. I can tell you about what happens with blood transfusions when you have cancer. So I can tell you that when you have late stages of cancer and you can start getting these blood transfusions, people are like, hey, we just gave this guy a blood transfusion. Like, why is his blood still low? Well, I can tell you why the blood is low during that point, doing a transfer, is because those cancer cells they have their own blood supply. So they need their own blood supply. So therefore, so that can make them grow bigger. So the more blood that they get, the bigger that they get. the bigger these cells get. But as far as like a blood transfusion and in relation to fecal matter, I don't know if I think it does make a difference. I think I've seen a study. I've heard a study about someone, maybe they were, let's just say they had a fish allergy. Like, I'm allergic to fish or I'm allergic to that. But if they have a blood transfusion, then all of a sudden they're not allergic to fish anymore. I have seen that before.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen that since. But as far as blood transfusion, like I said, when it comes to cancer, that's what the blood transfusion would do. They fuel the cancer. People are like, where'd the blood go? Well, I can tell you where
Right.
the cancer cells took it, because they need their own blood supply.
Right.
Right.
Wow.
But thank you for that. Before you go, just tell the audience about your PDF.
Yeah, the
Please.
PDF is called Unlock Your Diabetes Freedom, and there should be a link in the bio. I'm not sure where you have the link is, but that PDF is you download that, and then it's basically the 4 things that I talked about. The PACE is called the Freedom Formula. So PACE is called the Freedom Formula. Over that, in that's about 11, 12 pages. I go through the Freedom Formula. So the Freedom Formula is just going to break down everything that I just talked about, but it's going to break it down into a little bit more in detail.
And so it's all free, right?
Yeah, it's all free.
Right?
That's a freebie. You can download it. You just got to put your email and your name and email address in, and then you'll get the download. But yeah, it should be in your link there, wherever your link is. But my website, that's actually out before the website is out. The website is not my website. My new website is not done yet. I'm having them redesign my website, so it's kind of in limbo right now. But if you click on that link, it will take you there, and you can get that PDF.
Wow, Kelley, you served us well.
Very well.
Thank you for really coming into this space and really serving us really well, because you unlock a lot of stuff. You unbottled a lot of stuff.
Unbottled Wellness. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Unbottled Wellness.
Unbottledwellness.com is when the website comes up. That's what it will be, unbottledwellness.com. So yeah, just remember that. Unbottled. It could be up in a few days. I'll let you know, but it should be up hopefully by the end of the week. And then it's just it's an amazing website where you can go on and you can you can actually find out your diabetes management style. So I created a quiz where there's 3 types of diabetes, whether you're going to be an ant, or you're going to be a grasshopper, or you're going to be a mix of both. It's going to give you the results at the end. And then based on that, whether you're an ant or whether you're a grasshopper, it's going to tell you what the next steps are.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kelley. And thank you so much for that freebie. So to the audience, you could go in the comments and you will find the footnotes, and you will find that free PDF there, and you can download it and you can read it, and you could get in contact with Kelley if you want to discuss things further. Reach out to him and have a discussion with him that you will be able to dive a little bit more deeper into the subject area of type 2 diabetes. Kelley, it's always a pleasure to have you here. It's a treat, because you really help the audience to understand more in depth about how they can manage type 2 diabetes. And you touch on a lot of subject areas this evening. We talk about inflammation. We talk about the pancreas. We talk about the cells. We talk about mindfulness. You talk about know your values, which is super important, because many times things are being offered to us, and because we don't know our values, we are taking anything for granted, But again, you gotta honor this temple. You gotta honor this temple, and then you gotta look at what you're putting into your body, because this is the only vehicle that you have to take you through life, and you have to respect it. You have to respect it, because whatever you give it, that's the results you're gonna get. So continue to take good care of yourself. Pay attention to what you're eating. That is super important, and whatever you're going through at this point in time, know that you can repopulate your gut. You can repopulate your gut. That's a choice that you have. You can repopulate your gut and putting back those good bacteria back into your gut. You can take out those weeds, those overgrown weeds, and repopulate your gut. So many times people ask, how can I do that? You can do it by just making the right food choices. That is how you're going to repopulate your gut, making the right food choices. And you can do that. We all can do that. So, because again, the body has the ability to heal itself. It has that ability. This is very intelligent. This is very intelligent, but it's like a computer. How you program it, that is how it's going to run. Right, Kelley?
Absolutely.
How you program it, that is how it's going to run. So if you got to step back and reprogram, it's okay to do it. And you reprogram with the foods, the right kind of foods. And as Kelley pointed out this evening, your beans, your leafy vegetables, your vegetables. He pointed out a lot of good stuff. If you join us late, you got to watch this replay because there's a lot of good stuff Kelley unpacked here this evening for you that you can put on your plate. This was a real good treat, a real buffet. I wouldn't even say buffet. This is a grand meal. This is a grand meal you give us tonight, Kelley. Right, Joan?
Excellent. I think that as you spoke on and Kelley, just before we conclude, you have to understand what is your why.
Yeah.
You have to understand. You looking at us now and live, and you catching us on the replay. What's your why tonight? What's your reason for being?
Yeah.
How are you choosing to move forward and live a healthier lifestyle choice? Make those healthy lifestyle choices. Mm-hmm. How do you want to live? Do you just want to survive, or do you want to thrive? Do you want to live healthy and have the level of vitality that you could show up with all your power and live a quality life, your true essential self? What are some of your non-negotiables? And what some of the things that you're not going to condone? You're going out, you're partying, whatever it is that you're doing, and you show up in places. What are some of the things that you're going to resist and not involve? So tonight, know that there is a way. Keep moving forward. Make healthy choices. Live a great life. Yeah. Thank you, Kelley.
Yeah, thank you so much,
Thanks
Kelley. And to the audience, we just want to thank you so much for showing up in this space. And
yes.
I hope that you take away something this evening,
Right.
And if you know someone who can benefit from this podcast this evening, kindly share this to them, because you know what? Someone is suffering already with type 2 diabetes. And by just listening to what Kelley unpacked here this evening, they can start to take the right step and incorporate these things in their lives to help them to really move forward and start moving. And don't forget, whatever physical activities that you can do, just get up and move your body. Get up and move your body, because it is essential with movement as well. You need to move your body, And we just want to thank the people on YouTube for joining us, on IG, on Facebook, on Twitter. We just want to thank each and every one of you for showing up and being a part of this audience, because with you give us the courage, you give us the motivation to have these beautiful guests on to give you the information that you need for your life, And we have a master class that is coming up shortly, and we're gonna put more information soon. We're going to give you, as the weeks go by, we're going to give you some more great information on this masterclass. It's packed with a lot of great stuff. It's to help you, the individual, to rejuvenate. And you're going to spring forward in this spring, because once you join this masterclass, you will never be the same. We're going to guarantee you that you will never be the same, because we got some really good things that we're going to really unfold in this masterclass. And we're doing this masterclass for you. It's all for you. It's all for you. Right, John?
It was designed with you in mind.
Yes. Yes.
Help you to spring forward and have an amazing 2025.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So, Kelley, once again, thank you to the audience. Once again, thank you guys so much for taking the time, sitting with us this evening and being a part of this podcast. Again, if you know someone who can benefit, just share it out. Our books are up on Amazon. Your Gut in You and Self-Care is Intentional. And don't forget to subscribe to Soul, Light, and Body, that you will never miss none of these episodes. We always got some great stuff to unpack for you. So share us out, continue to subscribe, and be a part of Soul, Light, and Body community. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful rest of the week. We love you, love you.
Thanks, Kelley.